welcome to I Help Make That. Today, we are interviewing actor, public speaker, shall we say public personality, reality show contestant, you name it, he's done it, author, Sean P. Bennett. Thanks for coming on, Sean.
Sure. Hey, how's it going?
It's going great. But before Sean was accomplished many of the things he has accomplished now, he was in the 2001 Academy Award, I believe, winning movie, A Beautiful Mind. However, he had one line, but it was unfortunately cut out. But we're still going to talk about his experience today, what led to it, and of course, what he's done afterwards. But before we do that, let us just get the anchor ad out of the way. So, you want to create your own podcast, but you don't know how? If you do, try Anchor today because Anchor is the easiest podcasting platform to use. All you do is sign up for an account, then you can post on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, all those platforms. So if you want to try to create your own podcast, try Anchor today. So, Sean, tell me, when did you first get into acting and how did that lead into your journey as sort of this not even quadruple but threat, but like a man of all trades, a jack of all trades?
I don't even have a first recollection. I think I was in utero and I just started grabbing the umbilical cord as my first microphone. Officially, my parents say that I was using a spoon, imitating who I saw on TV as a microphone in a high chair. So, whatever age that is, toddler territory or lower, I'm assuming. So, I was always performing. And essentially as a performer, unless you're born into the industry, which is a lot of the industry, if not most of the industry, because it's similar to being a CEO. When you look at most companies, most people would fall more into the mid-range to secretary level, and then you have a board of 10 or 12. And the entertainment industry is basically the same. I would be at the secretary level, and then you have all the celebrities who are the CEOs. Usually, how to become a CEO? You go to school with a CEO's kid, or you were born into that industry, etc. And then occasionally, you do have the great, success stories like Tom Cruise, Madonna, Oprah Winfrey, who came from modest means and accomplished the world. So God bless, But most of the time, it's someone like who I think is very well deserving of her success, Lady Gaga, but she went to school with Paris Hilton. Her dad was a lawyer for all the other celebrities. So she didn't have to struggle to get the platform. She just had to, I guess, maintain it and prove she was worthy of it.
Okay. But then how are you able to start working in the industry? Like, what was your first actual job in the industry and how did that lead you to work your way up?
My first big thing was before Beautiful Mind. It was to be a host on MTV back when they had TRL, Total Request Live, and Naked Cowboy in Times Square. And it was a contest like VJ for a day. So it was to win the spot to be a host on MTV. And I actually won one of the spots out of thousands and thousands of people who just stayed all day in line to go through to have your 10 seconds. I don't remember the exact process. There might have been a screener, and then we came back a second day. And then we did it finally on another day when we filmed it. And it was just very funny because it's finally in the TRL studio with Carson Daly. I felt like I made it. I'm looking out onto Times Square. And then the second it's done, they're like, okay, you have to leave now and don't talk to Judge Judy or her kids. And I'm like, what? So it totally burst my bubble. I thought like, okay, I finally, won this contest. I'm treated as equal, but some stupid 18-year-old AD was afraid I'd insult Judge Judy for no apparent reason and escorted me right out of the building. So as quickly as it came, it was over. So that was my big thing before The Beautiful Mind.
Yeah. But then, did you audition for A Beautiful Mind?
Well, yes and no. I submitted my materials. We didn't have self-taping yet because it was probably still pagers or flip phones or whatever. It's around, I know I joined the union in 2000, 2001. So whatever the heck we were using then as far as devices. It was kind of karma how I got the role, essentially. One guy, I first moved to New York. How do you support yourself as an actor in New York? I didn't want to really fully work as a waiter, but then somebody was like, oh, cater waitering. You can work parties. You get about 25 bucks an hour. I was like, okay, I don't know what the hell I'm doing, but if they'll show me, why not? I need money. I need to eat. So I did that. And long and short of it, a gentleman was looking for cater waitering companies and just some actors and people in general in life. They hold on to like whatever company they work for. They don't want to share. They're afraid of by sharing that they're going to lose opportunity or they're going to lose work. And my mindset is there's always enough for everyone. And it was certainly not a career I wanted. It was just something I was doing to not starve. So anyhow, I shared the companies I was working with this guy named Nathan. I can't remember, maybe Russell. I don't know. I can't remember his last name. Anyhow, long and short of it, I get a call from, I don't believe Nathan, but somebody else saying that the casting director, and I don't remember who, but I could look it up on IMDb, of A Beautiful Mind was in from LA. And they were looking for a bunch of college students to play in A Beautiful Mind, and that you would automatically become union. Some people would get lines. I was being considered, and Nathan was helping the casting director and saw my photo. I guess I might even have been hard mail at the time because I don't think we were emailing everything. And they chose me for that reason. So basically doing a good deed, totally unrelated from what I wanted to do, led to me getting that opportunity. And I had struggled before because MTV, VH1, whenever you do hosting or you play yourself or even reality, it's not under your union jurisdiction. So I guess they can give you a union contract. The crew might still be under IATSE, but the actors are on their own. So even though I just had a starring role on MTV, it meant nothing. And then so the potential of getting a line and definitely being background, I was essentially on the phone guaranteed to become union, which was one of my big goals to join, the Screen Actors Guild or SAG.
Mm-hmm.
And now it's SAG-AFTRA because they merged and etc. It's been many, many years.
Yeah. I'm not gonna lie. I think I mentioned this on another episode beforehand, but I was shocked when I found out like how they don't really count like MTV gigs or investigation discovery shows or those sort of things as like being equal to like feature film work or big cable or big network shows because they're all on TV. So for people who like aren't in the industry, they probably see everything like on major television, whether it be cable or network or just films as being like under one jurisdiction. It's only when you become in the industry that you learn that's not necessarily the case.
Exactly. I mean, it's kind of like the Wild West in, that regard. It's like everybody, for themselves, so it may or may not count. I mean, clearly, if they don't use a union contract, it's cheaper for the producers, and often everything's about saving money, saving time. Sometimes they have the money to spend. Sometimes they need to spend the money because of what's in their account. It's just corporate culture, really. I mean, even though it's the entertainment industry, it's a corporate mindset behind all of it.
Yeah. But then back to A Beautiful Mind. Uh, what do you know what happened that led you to get a line originally?
I don't know if it was Ron Howard or whoever was the assistant director on set who had told me. But essentially, Russell Crowe, because I don't know if it was schizophrenia. I know he would see numbers. I forgot exactly where it went. I know he had a lot of issues going on in the movie. So in one of his meltdowns, like, my big line was like, Professor, like, like, is he okay, more or less? And then another time, like, they had me like kind of go towards them to like hold them up in a courtyard. We filmed in both Princeton, where it took place, because I believe it's a full true story, and that's where in the movie it takes place. And then also some old buildings up in Harlem. Look castle like, they look like Princeton. They weren't Princeton. So I had several days on the shoot. I think it was towards the end at Princeton where they actually had me do the official line. It was just a first off, me and a couple other guys were supposed to go to Russell's side, and then like later on they're like, okay, in the classroom, just basically indicate like, is he okay? And I did. The producer was on set, Ed Harris and Russell Crowe. They had their own trailers and they had their own manicurists, which I thought was a very funny thing for two guys who seem like guys to be like, okay, we don't only want a gym, we want a manicurist. I mean, unless somebody just always threw that in. I have no idea. Maybe Ron Howard likes nice nails. I have no idea. But they had that on set for them only. And then they had to pump in air conditioning because we're filming in the summer and all the buildings are super old. So they had to bring, the vacuums of air conditioning with the big hoses into the rooms we were in.
Okay. So then what was it like filming your scenes in A Beautiful Mind?
It was fun. It was fun seeing, the celebrities. They were, largely to themselves, but I don't blame them. I mean, at that point, they both were up for, or both had won Academy Awards, Ed Harris and Russell Crowe. I don't think I had any scenes where Ed Harris was in it, but I think his trailer was around for whatever reason. I even forgot their dynamic in the movie. I haven't gone back and saw it. I don't think I saw Jennifer Connelly either. Brian Grazer, I believe, is a famous producer. He has like dark hair, did at the time many years ago. Maybe it's gray now. Anyhow, he was on set, and then Ron Howard was very identifiable as well.
Okay. So then cut to, when the movie comes out. When you first saw it, were you disappointed that your line was cut?
I was really looking forward to it. I was really excited. But again, it is a wacky industry, and it wound up being bittersweet because they contracted me for the line, they paid me for the line, and then they gave me vouchers, which means, you're being paid SAG rate and it entitles you to join the union, like some alternative rule in. So regardless, I was able to join the union afterwards. And then just as a coincidence, like, I don't know how long it took from the time I got the paperwork, I got my checks, because you have to prove all this and bring it to SAG, or you did at the time. Now it's probably like an email or a photo. Anyhow, I then joined the union. And about the same week I joined the union, an agent I was with had a commercial audition for a Spike Lee Coors commercial with Charles Barkley, and it was supposed to just be fun. They sent me out on, they're like, but you have to be union. I'm like, well, I just joined the union. And I booked it and I made $20,000. So, one loss, one gain. What are you going to do? You can't control the edits, ever. Recently, I had, a similar thing happen with Inventing Anna on Netflix. I improv'd with the lead lady who I didn't even know was from Ozark, because she did such a good job at disguising herself. And that whole scene at the end, I was paid my $1,000 for the day or what have you as a sommelier. But it wound up being a voiceover with a quick glimpse of me. I don't even know if you see me clearly in A Beautiful Mind. I almost don't think so. But in Inventing Anna, you briefly do. But, somebody else was just saying, Anna always knew what to order. And so all my lines about what would you like to drink? Very good choice, ma'am. Can I get anything for your guests? All that type of, back and forth was voiceover. So it is what it is.
Yeah. Though, again, even if your line was cut out of A Beautiful Mind, were you at least ecstatic when you heard that a movie you had worked on was like nominated and I think even won so many like Oscars? What else? It won BAFTAs, Screen Actor Guild Awards. Like, was that at least exciting?
I thought it was cool because, when you have a small role, even in an episodic show, a lot of times they don't want, they treat actors and they view them like mentally ill children. So they try to keep as much information away from them as humanly possible. So they don't often give you the entire script unless it's something lower budget or unless you're starring in it. So often you'll just see your own scene and you don't really have context. So at this point, I don't remember what they said on set. Like, your professor isn't feeling well, you want to help him out. I'm sure it was much more vague. They might, have gave a brief description of what the story plot line was. Usually that's pretty typical on set. So you don't know going in, other than who's starring in a movie, what the caliber of the writing is, what you'll know who's maybe in it. But that's all often you will know. Even when you audition, I had an audition for the Joker and I didn't book it. But the funny thing is, the casting director gave me the worst direction ever, I think, and not anything against them or the assistant. I don't know who it was, so I don't want anybody mad at me now. But whoever was in that room the day I went in told me, okay, you're interviewing, and it was supposed to be Bruce Wayne's dad, whatever Wayne is, Thomas or whatever, on a morning show. If you ever watch a morning show or listen to it on the radio, it's always happy. It's like, hey, ho, yo, how are you? If you saw the movie Joker, there's not one happy damn moment in that whole film. It is so dark, so melancholy. So it's very funny talking about not having the information. They were calling the Joker Romeo before it was being filmed. So did not know it had anything to do with Gotham. And you just see a script with Wayne, didn't necessarily look for it or put it together myself. And then not only that, it's a comic book. Even if I knew that going in, it could be more, tongue in cheek, or it can be as dark as it was. But the direction being like morning show, no, it should have been like, this is hard hitting news. You're doing 60 minutes. You're trying to get to the bottom of this at the very least. Should have been the direction from the casting director. It wasn't. I didn't book it. Somebody did. God bless.
Okay. But then after A Beautiful Mind, like I knew you were already doing like TV show hosting gigs, but how much longer after A Beautiful Mind did you start also, in addition to being an actor and a TV show host, become a speaker and an author?
I think, I just listen to where life takes me and go with the flow. I mean, any way to have a side hustle, like, people will do Uber, but instead that's not my talent. For instance, when I was traveling as a spokesperson for a couple of major brands in the US, I found out about loyalty programs and I found out about even an apartment lottery in New York to get a discount rent. So I was just sharing this like off the cuff with my fellow coworkers. And one of the coworkers named Pega said, wow, you should write a book about this. And I was like, about what? And she's like, I don't know anybody else who gets, upgraded to first class as often, nicer hotel rooms, deals on their rent in big cities. And I'm like, huh. So that's how the genesis of the book happened. And similarly, with the motivational speaking that I branched out into, and I'm with a company called The Talent Concierge, it started with a gentleman reaching out to me asking if I would talk to kids who were locked up during the pandemic and maybe say something to, make them laugh or keep them entertained. And I decided to take it more in an inspirational, you can overcome adversity type of direction about my own experience being bullied and having to find an outlet to overcome that and how I did, and trying to help others, view that, and also self-empowerment. I mean, because not everybody has the same story, or clearly if you're locked in your home at that time, kids may not have felt bullied, maybe online, but essentially it would be about how do they feel empowered? How do they have hope? And so that's what I wanted to convey. And from that, it led to an agent seeing that and then, spawning off in that direction. So I just say, take what you can. I remember there was a documentary on Joan Rivers. And she never stopped. She'd take every gig that they threw at her. And, I'm not huge on Trump, but it was actually the Celebrity Apprentice that, I don't know, in her 60s, 70s, however old she was, brought her career back. And she became hotter than ever. The documentary she was doing, forgot the name, A Piece of Work, I believe, Joan Rivers, became a huge hit. And so now all of a sudden, a 70-year-old, she became like Betty White territory, where she wasn't before. So that's my type of philosophy. You never know what's going to hit, what's going to work, what's going to stay in the cut, what's not, when the $20,000 commercial will come, or when your line will be taken away. So just go with it, is what I say.
Great. Thanks. I think that is a very inspirational way to end the show. But before we go, Sean, do you have anything you'd like to plug?
Well, I mean, essentially, if anybody wants to follow me and I'll follow you back, SeanPBennett.com is my website. You can check out more about my book, which is all about life hacks on big ticket items like flying first class, deals on rent, on healthcare, things of that nature. Also, probably links to where you can book me as a motivational speaker for your company, for your event, or as talent as well. My acting reels, so you can see some of what I've done, some of the samples, as well as a link to IMDb where you can see the 55 credits I have. And that's about it. So, you friend me, I friend you. Let's become real friends. Let's rock it.
All right. Well, that was I help make that, and I'll see you all later.